Hello, everybody out there in webinar land. I'm Dr. Richard Madow, and I'm really excited for our webinar tonight. We had a lot of interest in this topic, or maybe everybody's just really bored. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Whatever the case is, I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have a ton of fun tonight or this evening, depending on where you are, and talk about some great ways to eliminate cancellations and banish no-shows. And it really has changed in the COVID era, hasn't it? I've been hearing from a lot of the practices, both practices that we work with and practices that email us or hit us up on Facebook or whatever, and people are saying no-shows and cancellations are more rampant than ever. And with the cancellations, they seem to be getting less time for the cancellations. In other words, not that we ever would like cancellations, but many patients would at least give us 2 or 3 days notice. Now we're getting 10 minutes notice on cancellation. So very frustrating. Everybody seems to be really frustrated with that. So that's why we got, by great request, to come on and do a webinar about cancellations and no-shows. And it's one of my favorite topics too. So glad to be here. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Now, I know we've got a lot of people watching tonight who have been with us for quite a while, but some of you are brand new to the Madow Center, so I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Richard Madow, along with my brother, Dr. David Madow. We're co-founders of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. Just like you, we are real dentists. We both started practices. Dave started from scratch. I started actually with a bankrupt practice, so I was in the hole when I started this practice. I bought a failing practice from someone else against everybody's advice. And we both built them up to be hugely successful. And along the way, we've been writing, lecturing, I shouldn't say lecturing, that's a horrible word, presenting seminars, teaching, coaching, working with dentists and team members all across North America for over 30 years. And it really has been so much fun. So for those of you who don't know who I am, welcome. For those of you who have known me and Dave for a while, great to see you again. I always like to think on these webinars, they can be kind of impersonal. You know, I know some people are at home, some are at their office, some are at the gym, some are driving. Be careful if you're driving. But I really miss the days when we traveled all across North America, speaking at large conventions and small study clubs and everything in between. So I'm kind of picturing all of you. I know we had about 600 people sign up for this webinar tonight. Kind of picturing all of you in a big arena and everybody's having fun and interacting. And that's, maybe you should kind of picture it that way too. So again, welcome to tonight's webinar on how to eliminate cancellations and banish no-shows in the COVID era. So there's my slide, it's working. So if you're looking at your little dashboard or webinar screen or whatever it's called, there are a couple ways to make comments, but I'd like you to use the chat function. Some people go to the Q&A, which is not where we'd like you to do it. There's a Q&A and there's also a chat. So when you want to make a comment, please do the chat. And also, when you go to the chat, you will see there's a choice of talking to all panelists or all panelists and attendees. So please direct your comments to all panelists and attendees. That's the way that everybody can see it, unless you want to do a private message. But it's tough for me to read private messages during the webinars, and my team sometimes tries to relay them to me, but I can't count on that 100%. Anyway, go to your chat box and click on the thing that says all panelists and attendees. And if you want to say hello, tell us who you are and where you're from or where you're watching from tonight, that'll be great. I know a few people have already done that, like Glenn Forrest from Jericho, New York. We've got Veronica from San Diego. Whoa, now it's growing fast. That's fantastic. Fremont, California. Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Wow. Joanne from Baltimore. How's it going? The Woodlands in Texas, Chicago, Richmond, Sherman Oaks, Windsor, Ontario. Fantastic. Bloomfield, Vermont. Wow, it's going so fast I can't even read it now. Keep it coming. Kevin from New York, Bangor, Maine. Oh, I love Maine. I'd love to be in Maine right now. Atlanta, Toronto, Nashville, Vegas, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, West Virginia, all kinds of great places. Wow, even Wyandotte, Michigan, if you can believe that. So again, thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Thanks for doing that little chat thing. I appreciate it. It looks like the chat box is working well. I see some people are doing to all panelists, but please go in your little click box and do all panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see, because I'm reading all these towns and most people can't even see half of them. So Naperville, Illinois, I love it there. But again, that's to all panelists. So make it to all panelists and attendees. Fantastic. Okay, people are starting. Jethro! Jethro and Sandy from Indiana. I love you guys. I miss you guys. I miss a lot of people that we see every year at our TBSC in Las Vegas, which we're not going to be doing this year. Okay, that was fun. Let's keep it going. There's me, Dr. Richard Madow, and tonight's topic is how to eliminate cancellations and banish no-shows in the COVID era. Now, some of you who have been to a lot of our webinars know that at the very beginning, I'd love to just give a little tip that anybody can do that will either save you money or bring money into your practice without spending anything, without doing anything, without taking hardly any effort, because we love it when we lower our overhead or get cash right into the practice for doing practically nothing. So I want to tell you about a really cool company. Dave and I met the owner of this company when we were speaking in Florida. I don't know how long ago, about a year ago. And you know, we like to schmooze and meet with all the vendors when we speak, and some of them have really, really great things to offer. And when we meet somebody like that with a great product or service, it's really fun and rewarding to turn all of our people onto that, because let's face it, everybody loves being turned on to something that's really great for your practice and will save you money or earn you money. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Southern Dental Refining. Now, you might already work with a dental scrap refiner, or you might have never done this. Maybe all your scraps going down the drain. In any case, precious metals are so high right now. I just saw, I think gold was up like 25% year to date, and everything else has been kind of down or mid-level. Precious metals are at an all-time high. So it was never a good idea to throw away your crowns and your bridges and your PFMs and your partials and all those things, because you were just throwing money away. But now, if you do it, you're throwing away more money than ever. But what do? You've accumulated some dental scrap. What do you do with it? Where do you send it to get your absolute best deal? Well, one thing I don't want you to do is get ripped off by $2 a gram Stan. $2 a gram Stan knocks on your office door, comes in with a little scale, and he says, I'll pay you cash on the spot for your dental scrap. Geez, how can you beat that cash on the spot? It's really weird though. $2 a gram Stan doesn't assay the precious metals. He doesn't really know what's in there. You could be giving him a bunch of tin foil and he'd be paying you. So how can he possibly make money doing that? Well, he makes money doing that because he gives you such a crappy price for your dental scrap that no matter what's in there, it could be old styrofoam, it doesn't matter, he would still come out ahead because he's paying you a horrible price for your dental scrap. So don't get ripped off by $2 a gram Stan. Now, there are a lot of companies, you know, legitimate companies that have been doing dental scrap refining for a long time, but these are the companies where you go to a convention, they've got, 400 square foot booth, or they're putting 2-page ad spreads in dental economics, and they've got salespeople on the road all the time. Well, these companies have huge overhead. So even if they're an honest company, someone's got to feed that overhead, right? Why should it be you? Talk to our friends at Southern Dental Refining. It's a small family-owned business. They don't have salespeople. They don't put big ads in the journals. They don't have huge booths at the conventions. They don't do any of these things that cut into your profits when you're selling dental scrap. They give absolutely the highest prices that I've ever seen. Some companies say they pay whatever, 80% of what your gold or your scrap is worth, but then they put in surcharges and hidden fees and service charges. Southern Dental Refining doesn't do any of that. They are absolutely the best and great people to deal with. So just go to madow.com/gold, madow.com/GOLD. We'll get you all hooked up. They will send you a little mailing label. You can just put your scrap in a lab box or an Amazon Prime box or whatever you have lying around, send it to Southern Dental Refining, and you will get paid the most out of anyone. How much? Well, it depends on what you send them, but I just asked Alan Katz, the owner, just to send me a check that he sent to a customer recently. $6,440, and this is not the highest that we've seen, not by a long shot, but this is pretty fantastic. Somebody has just been accumulating their scrap, they sent it to Southern Dental Refining, they get a check for about $6,500 that they were gonna either throw down the drain or get maybe $3,000 or $4,000 from someone else. Well, I see somebody saying they're gonna save me. Oh, okay. Oh, that's another thing. That's Fat Merchant. Fantastic. Another great company you like to talk about. Anyway, Southern Dental Refining. That's who you go to. madow.com/gold. There's a phone number if you want to call them, but definitely do it. Get paid for all that scrap that's just sitting around doing nothing. I love free money, don't you? Okay, let's get on to our topic tonight. How to get rid of these cancellations and banish no-shows even in the COVID era. Again, it's one of our most requested topics, and that's for a reason. Nobody likes no-shows and cancellations. They frustrate you. They wreck your schedule. We get all out of sorts when patients no-show. We take it personally. We're sitting around twiddling our thumbs or doing busy work, and it kills your profits and overhead. So nobody likes no-shows and cancellations. When will no-shows and cancellations end? For those of you who just joined us, by the way, I'm Dr. Richard Madow, co-founder of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. Thanks for being here. People from all over North America tonight. A lot of friends from Canada here tonight. So I'm glad that you pointed your webinar down south, as you would say. When will no-shows and cancellations end? I will tell you exactly when all no-shows and cancellations will end. When the moon is in the 7th house, Jupiter aligns with Mars, and the Earth goes crashing into space and just becomes a big ball of fire, that's when no-shows and cancellations will end. Get it? No-shows and cancellations will never end. It's part of human nature to be irresponsible or forgetful or even intentionally do something you know you shouldn't be doing. So if anybody claims to you they can end all no-shows and cancellations, you should run. But there's no question about it. We can severely limit and mitigate the no-shows and cancellations that are coming into our office. We can get rid of a huge percentage of them. As a matter of fact, a little later, I'm going to show you how when somebody calls to cancel, 90% of the time you can fill that appointment. No joke. Next time somebody calls to cancel, if you do exactly what I'm going to tell you to do, 90% of the time that appointment will get filled. So a lot of cool stuff. We're ready to rock and get right down to it. The number one no-show in just about every single dental practice is the new patient. It's the number one no-show and the most frustrating no-show, isn't it? We're all excited that we got a new patient on the schedule. And think about what it takes to get a new patient. Either somebody from your practice referred their friend or family member or coworker, the greatest compliment ever, or you're doing some kind of marketing, internal marketing, external marketing, asking for referrals, meeting with business owners in your community, whatever it is, it takes a lot of effort to get a new patient in the door. And it's just equally frustrating when they don't show up. So what happens? Why is a new patient the number one no-show? Well, let's face it. Most people don't want to go to the dentist. This is something we know, something we have to admit. Most people don't want to go to the dentist. So even if they're prompted somehow to make that appointment, a friend gets them excited about your office, or they've got a little pain, or they realize that it's been a long time since they've had a cleaning, or their insurance is about to expire, or their spouse tells them their breath smells like freshly ground horse manure. Whatever it is, for some reason, that person picks up the phone that day and calls your office. But then maybe some time passes and they chicken out, or they hear about another office, or that chipped tooth is kind of smoothed over and it's no longer bothering them. So many reasons why a new patient is the number one no-show. So how do we prevent the number one no-show, the new patient? First of all, you've got to have new patient time on your schedule. You know, it used to be kind of a thing to brag about at the local study club meeting. Oh, we're so busy, we're booked 8 weeks out. Then like the other bragger, oh, we're so busy, we're booked 3 months out. And it'll be, we're so busy, we're booked a year. We're so busy, nobody's even actually ever been to our practice. That's how busy we are. Well, it's nothing to brag about, because if you can't get new patients in, your practice can't grow, and there's natural attrition. There's nothing we can do about some of the cases of natural attrition, moves, deaths, those kinds of things. So your practice will be shrinking if you can't get new patients in. And you've got to have dedicated new patient time on the schedule. So when a new patient calls, you can get them in same day, next day, or as soon as possible. Because if a new patient calls and you say, okay, we can see you in 3 weeks, and those of you who listen to our podcast, Dental Practice Fixers, know we do these kind of mystery shopper calls. And we hear this all the time. I'd like to make an appointment. Okay, we can see you 3.5 weeks from now. That is asking for a no-show and cancellation. So you've got to have dedicated new patient time on your schedule. I like time right before lunch and right at the end of the day, kind of my ulterior motive there. If it doesn't get filled, I can take a long lunch. But that's not really what we want to do. We want to have dedicated new patient time on our schedule every single day. So when someone calls a new patient, you can get them in same day or next day. You can nip that number one no-show in the bud. or in the butt. I noticed a lot of millennials say nip it in the butt. That's not correct. Where did that come from? Nip it in the bud, the number one no-show, the new patient. Now here's another just little technique. It takes about 5 seconds. I love to do this. When a new patient calls and you're schmoozing with them on the phone or whatever, then you offer them 2 good appointment times. We'd love to see you in our practice. We can see you today at 3 p.m. or we can see you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Which works best for you? That's how you should always offer appointments. 2 good choices, same day or next day is best. Then let's say you do that and they schedule and you get their name in the appointment book and you're about to hang up. Give them what I call 5 seconds of kindness. Just say something like, I'm so glad you chose our office. Dr. Jane is so gentle. She is the finest dentist that I've ever met in my life. We all come here. We bring our families here. She's up on the latest high-tech way to give you fantastic dentistry, but she's also so gentle and personable. You will love it here. Welcome to our practice. Is anybody doing that? Can you imagine if you called like a dermatologist to make an appointment and they did that? You'd drop your phone right on the floor. I mean, nobody does that kind of stuff. So the first impression is so important. Do it. That patient is showing up. And then this is something I know a lot of people don't like to do this. I know if you have a high volume practice, it might not be that practical, but it's an incredible technique if the doctor calls the night before just to introduce himself or herself, say, this is Dr. Madow. Jim, I'm so glad that you chose our office. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Do you have any questions that you want to ask me ahead of your appointment? Usually after they get up from fainting, they'll say, no, thanks for calling. Boom. This is the kind of stuff that makes a first impression that no one else is doing. And the patient feels committed now. They've had a conversation with the doctor. They know you're a human being. They know you're a nice person. Do these things and you will not have the number one no-show, the new patient no-show. Now, let's say that you've got this dedicated new patient time on your schedule, and I really, really strongly urge you to do this, and it looks like it's not going to get full. How can you use this to further alleviate no-shows in your practice? What do you do with this unused new patient time? Well, first of all, this is something you should always discuss at your morning huddle. We've still got some new patient time. We've got today at 11:30. We have today at 3:30. So, this would be a great place for emergencies. If it's same day and it's not filled yet, please, don't be that stubborn that you're going to let it go to waste. So you can use it for emergencies, discuss things in the morning huddle, but also when you're in the morning huddle, look through the hygiene schedule and see if you can pick out somebody who you think would benefit from same day dentistry. Sometimes you can kind of predict this ahead of time, or maybe the last time they came in through hygiene, they had a little restorative need that wasn't taken care of. Often this comes out of the hygiene schedule during that day where the hygienist and the doctor will find a new bit of treatment to do. You've got this time blocked out. If it's just about to happen and you haven't used it yet, offer same day dentistry. Jim, we talked about how you need that little filling on the right. I'll tell you what, if you can just wait about 20 minutes, we can get you in at 3:30. We can do it today. It'll be much easier for you than have to come back. Boom. Offer same-day dentistry with your unused patient time. Also, you can use it for patients on your PNP and your VIP list. If you're there in the morning and you still have unused new patient time, contact patients on your PNP and your VIP list. Now, you might be thinking, hey, what the heck are the PNP and the VIP list? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. It's not a tease. I just don't want to have to talk about it twice. And it's a lot more in context when I'm going to talk about how to fill cancellations 90% of the time. So unused new patient time, talk about it in the huddle, pull over some next day dentistry. And then if that doesn't work, or at the same time, you can contact patients who are on your PNP and your VIP lists. Okay. Let's move to number 3. Now, I already talked about how the number one no-show in most offices is the new patient. Well, there's another reason why patients don't show up, a big reason why patients don't show up, and that is they don't understand the financial arrangements. They're very confused about their maximums, their co-pays, all those things. They don't know, they don't understand it. Nobody understands it. I don't think we understand it half the time, but it's our job to understand it. Don't think that because legally or technically it's your patient's job to understand their insurance that they have any idea what their insurance is about. They have no idea. I've been in offices many times where the office staff has no idea. So how can we possibly expect our patients to understand insurance? But This is a reason the patients don't show up. They don't understand the financial arrangements. Is it covered by insurance? If it's not, how much do I owe? When do I owe it? Can I make payments? Do I have to pay it up front? Do you take credit cards? But they don't know any of this stuff. So make sure that your patient understands the financial arrangements. Make sure they understand everything I just talked about. They need to know how much they owe and when it is due. Now this, whether it's an insurance copay or they're a cash patient or something that's not covered by insurance, whatever it is, they need to know before that appointment how much they owe and when it is due. But it's even better. I've been using nip it in the bud a lot during this webinar, because a lot of alleviating no-shows and cancellations involve nipping all these things in the bud, taking care of things before they blow up in your face. So I love to nip this in the bud, having patients that aren't even worried about their financial arrangements because you've already taken care of it. Having upfront payment in full eliminates all of these problems. Now, I'm not talking about upfront payment for a $25,000 treatment plan. Look, if you do that, that's fantastic. If the patient wants to do that and you've got the skills to get that to happen, that is incredible. But in most cases, we're talking about, even on a large treatment plan, paying for treatment upfront on a piece-by-piece basis. Like if the first step is scaling root planing, paying for that. Then the next step might be 3 cores and crowns, then paying for that. Then implants, paying for that. It doesn't have to be all at once, but it has to be before each procedure is performed. Upfront payment. In our practice, you've got to pay for stuff before we do it in full. Then there are no questions about financial arrangements. Nobody's not going to show up because they don't understand. They're not going to show up because they don't have the money to pay that day. None of those things matter because everything is paid for. Now look, we know that that arrangement is out of reach for many of our patients, and that's fine. We love all of our patients, even ones who maybe don't have the capability to whip out cash or check or credit card and pay for payment before it starts. But that's why you've got to offer in-house, not in third-party financing with a company like Care Credit. Use your Care Credit. It's so funny. We've been recommending Care Credit and working with Care Credit for over 20 years. I used it in my practice. I'm a huge believer in Care Credit. And we know that just about every practice out there is utilizing Care Credit. But most practices are not utilizing it nearly as much as they should. And I'll tell you why. The problem is in the presentation. Now, I've been an observer, kind of a fly on the wall, although I'm a lot bigger, so I'm not a fly on the wall. I'm standing there watching things. And people offer Care Credit to the patient, but they do it all wrong. They go into this whole spiel, well, we've got a great option for you. It's called Care Credit. You need to fill out this application. And the patient started to get nervous. Oh yeah, of course, we're going to ask all these personal questions about you, about your job and your income and your prison record and your 8 bankruptcies and about this and about that and about the, the time you were convicted of a horrible crime. They just start to sweat. You can just see it. And then they say, and then we fill out this application. And if you're approved, well, if you're not approved, we're going to be making fun of you, loser. And it's just not a good way to present outside financing. You don't need to do any of that. Care Credit or any outside financing should be presented in about 20 seconds or less, 5 seconds. Here's how you do it. Let's say that a patient needs $2,400 worth of treatment, and they, you've talked about cash, credit card, check, whatever. I don't think anybody even carries checks with them anymore. Cash, credit card, Venmo, whatever you're going to do. And the patient doesn't want to do that. Just look them straight in the eye and say, okay, your treatment's $2,400. We've got a fantastic option for you. We can do 12 months interest-free. That'll be just $200 a month. Does that sound good to you? And then be quiet. Put your hand over your mouth if you have to. Just wait for the patient to say yes, because they always do. And then you talk about how you gather the information, blah, blah, blah. But get them to mentally commit to this. I'm going to repeat it one more time. It's so easy. We've got a great option for you. Your treatment's $2,400. We could do 12 months, interest-free. That'll be just $200 a month. Is that something that you want to take advantage of? Boom. There you go. Perfect. Fantastic. So utilize Care Credit as much as you possibly can. I got to tell you, whoops, there you go. I had an optometry appointment a couple weeks ago, and I got new glasses. And glasses are expensive. I had insurance. I have optometric insurance. And even with that, the glasses were like $700. So, we picked out the frames and they say, okay, we're going to send the glasses to the glasses lab or the optician or whatever they send. They say, okay, your share's $700. I had no thought that they were going to make these glasses, grind the lenses, fit them in the frames, and hand them to me without me giving them any money. I fully expected to pay for them. I whipped out my credit card and paid. They just asked. Sometimes all you got to do is ask. People expect to pay for things these days. Okay, so that's financial arrangement. That's the third thing on our list of ways to get rid of no-shows and cancellations. Okay, moving on. This is a kind of subtle one. It, again, just like everything else, it only takes a few seconds, but it's a really great thing to do. And I very rarely see this happening in dental practices. And that is every time an appointment is made, I don't care if it's for a buccal pit composite or for a full mouth rehabilitation. Every time an appointment is made, when the patient's about to leave, provide a reason for that appointment and the consequences of not doing that appointment. Now, what does that mean? You don't have to do a whole dog and pony show. It's very simple. Let's say that patient's in the treatment room, and I really do think that most simple treatment planning and appointing and all those things should be done right in the treatment room. Again, no need to make a big dog and pony show out of this stuff. Be very matter of fact about it. So let's say a patient came in and they got a big MODBL XYZ PDQ amalgam with worms growing underneath of it, and you're going to do a core and crown on them. And you'll explain the whole thing, and everybody's happy, and you make the appointment and say, okay, I just want to review and see if you have any questions. When you come in, we're going to be working on that tooth on the lower right, taking out that big old filling that's all broken down, remove all the decay and bacteria underneath of that, make sure your tooth is nice and clean and healthy, and we'll start to fabricate the crown that is going to go on top of that and protect your tooth for a long, long time and look fantastic. So I'm really, really glad that you chose to do this. And should you have chosen to wait, it wouldn't have been a good choice because the tooth can fracture, break down, it can crack. You can wind up needing a root canal or losing it. So I'm really, really happy that you decided to take care of this and decided to take care of it soon. Boom. That took about 30 seconds. Every time an appointment is made, do something like that. I don't care how minimal the treatment is. Make sure the patient knows why you're doing the procedure, because a lot of times they don't, and then ask if they have any questions, but make sure they know why you're doing the procedure. Tell them that they made a great decision, what you're going to be doing, and not in a threatening way, but very matter-of-fact way, what could happen if they choose to no-show or cancel. Don't use those words, of course, but you're insinuating, we're so glad you're doing this, because if you don't show up, you're going to wind up with a broken tooth, a root canal, the worst pain you've ever had in your life, blah, 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 blah. So every time an appointment is made, a reason and consequences. I just saw somebody, I think it was on our Facebook group, the dental place, somebody asked a question like, what do you say to a patient when they say, how long will that crown last? And this person said, I tell them the crown should last over 100 years. It's the tooth underneath that I'm worried about. I thought that was great. I don't know that I'd say it to a patient, kind of a wise ass answer, but it really made me crack up. I think it's because it's true. The crown will last forever. It's the tooth underneath it that we're worried about. So I know some people say, should we have a guarantee on our treatment? And every now and then a patient will ask you, do you guarantee this treatment? Because let's face it, they're spending a lot of money and they want to know, what they really want to know is this a good investment? And I think if something is guaranteed, people feel much better that they're making a good investment. So some practices choose to guarantee their treatment, some don't. That's up to you. In my practice, I was a big guarantee guy, and it worked really well. But I'll tell you the little twist that I did to it. If somebody will ask about it, or many times I bring it up myself, I say, we guarantee all our treatment for the entire time that you're a patient in this practice. But you've got to keep up your end of the bargain, which means you can't miss any of your cleaning and examination appointments. Boom, everybody agrees to that. I write it in the chart. It makes sense. Yes, we guarantee all of our treatment for the entire time you're a patient in this practice. So that could be 20 or 30 years, whatever. It's worth it. We guarantee this treatment for the entire time you're a patient in our practice, as long as you don't miss any of your preventive appointments, your checkups and cleanings. That gets people not to miss these appointments. It's that simple. They've got a guarantee it's going to be voided if they miss their appointments. So it's much greater incentive to not miss their cleaning and checkup appointments. Now, every now and then, do you have to do a redo that wasn't your fault, so to speak? Sure, every now and then you do. But I'm telling you, not only is this great for no-shows and cancellations, for getting rid of them, it's also great for getting people to say yes to their treatment. People feel they can sense that confidence that you're giving when you say, of course we back up everything we do in this practice. Boy, physicians don't do that. You know, they do heart surgery and you die the next day. Tough luck. You know, that's the way it goes, man. But for some reason, people expect a little more from us. I don't know, maybe because we're better. But yeah, sure, do this guarantee, but they've got to promise that they show for all their prevention appointments. Get the word cancel out of your vocabulary. I cannot tell you how many times I hear dental people use the word cancel, or they've got it in their written materials, you go on their website, or the back of an appointment card or business card if you're still using those. If you need to cancel, give 48 hours notice. If you need to cancel, please give 24 hours notice. But what does that mean? That means that if you cancel your appointment 24 hours and 1 minute ahead of time, it's okay. It's not okay. It is not okay to cancel your appointment, even if you give 24 or 48 hours notice. So don't give anybody permission to do that. Don't have a big sign in your reception area, not that anybody waits in there anymore, about cancellations. Don't have something on your website about your cancellation policy. We don't accept cancellations. Get that word out of your vocabulary. I was in an office a couple years ago observing at the front desk, and the front desk, she was so sweet and she was so nice, and she was doing a great job for the most part, but I heard her say to a patient, I think they were having trouble finding an appointment time for this patient. And she said to him, oh, don't worry, we always get cancellations. We'll be able to get you in sooner. Ah! I wanted to scream. You're telling a patient that you always get cancellations? Don't use that word, just get it out of your vocabulary. And that also extends to the confirmation calls. Don't do confirmation calls that end in something like, if you need to cancel, please give us 24 hours. I got a call, confirmation call from a physician about 2 weeks ago. I didn't pick it up, of course. Who picks up the phone these days? No way, I don't do that. But they left a voicemail, and the very last thing, we're calling to confirm your appointment for Dr. Blah, blah, blah at 8 a.m. And if you need to cancel, please call this number. Well, they're telling me how to cancel. I don't know why you would ever want to do that. I don't even like the phrase confirmation. Don't even say we're calling to confirm your appointment, let alone if you need to cancel. The confirmation call, you can call it a confirmation call, but don't use the word cancel. Don't use the word confirmation. Just simply, we're looking forward to seeing you Tuesday at 9 a.m. Boom. That's it. There's no out. There's no confirming that you can say, no, actually, I can't do it. There's no cancellation option. We're looking forward to seeing you Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. That's it. Boom. Done. Don't do confirmation calls. Do friendly reminders. Okay. We're just about at the halfway point, but just in case you're curious what is coming up, we're going to talk about, should you charge a no-show fee? Dealing with the COVID cancellation. Cancellations are so much easier these days. Somebody calls 10 minutes before their appointment. I'm just a little nervous about coming because of COVID. How do you deal with the COVID cancellation? The two most important rules in banishing no-shows and cancellations, and my favorite, how to fill 90% of your cancellations instantly. How to fill them instantly. We're going to be talking about that. All this coming up. So I'm really excited. I hope you're having fun. I certainly am. Again, I'm Dr. Richard Madow, co-founder of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. Thanks for being with us, but don't go anywhere, because look at all this great stuff that's coming up. And I want to tell you, speaking of things that are coming up, we've got a little event coming up that I think you're going to want to take advantage of. It's not a webinar. It's another small group coaching session. We've done about, I think, 4 or 5 of these. We used to do these live here in Baltimore, my hometown, the headquarters of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success, and we called them masterminds. We had small group sessions. They were live. I was there. Dave was there. Members of our coaching team, of our Madow Center staff. You got to meet everybody. We served great food. Oh, I'm reminiscing about the good old days. Pre-pandemic, it was so much fun. We actually did things at night, like go to concerts and go to dinner in those days. Who remembers those days? I certainly do. Well, they're going to be back one of these days. But until then, people kept asking us, are we having any more master classes? Well, we couldn't do them in person, so we started doing them online. A format just like this, a webinar format, although these are not webinars. They are small group coaching sessions. They're very limited in attendance. We have anywhere from 6 to 10 doctors on there, and they're no charge. And this is a time where it's not like a webinar where it's just me talking. These are completely interactive. We get down and dirty. Everything's completely confidential. We'll help answer specific questions about your practice, so you'll learn some specific things about your practice. You'll hear what the other 5 or 6 docs from there are talking about too, so that's great. They're just intimate, they're personalized, they're interactive, they're a lot of fun, and there's a ton of learning. They're called small group coaching sessions. They're no charge, but you do have to be a practice owner. It's for doctors only, and they're for practice owners only. The next one's November 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Sign up now so you can reserve your spot. It's madow.com/group. You'll get to meet some of our coaches on there. You'll even get to see what it's like to work with us as your coaches, to see what it's like to work with Madow Center Coaching. There's no pressure or obligation or anything like that, but we've got you there, and we're going to talk about improving your practice. So we'll certainly tell you what it's like to work with us as your coaches, although there's no obligation, no pressure, nothing like that. So again, you absolutely do not want to miss this. The last few have been fantastic. People have contacted me personally afterwards and not only thanked me, but said, I learned so much. It was so great to get together in a small group setting like that. There really is nothing like it. And look, let's face it, it's easier. You don't have to fly or drive or take a boat to Baltimore, Maryland, although I certainly love having you as a host in our hometown of Baltimore, but you don't have to do it anymore. You can do it right on your laptop. So again, it's no charge. We're going to talk about your practice. We'll tell you a bit about our coaching, but it's mainly for practice improvement. So definitely be there, madow.com/group. I just ask a couple things. One, that you are a dentist who owns their own practice. Now, if the dentist is on there and you want to have your office manager or significant other or something like that, that's fine. They can accompany you, but the doc's got to be on there. And also, please don't sign up for this if you're going to be distracted, you're going to be in the middle of seeing patients, you're going to be driving, not having your video on or your audio. You've got to be a participant. That doesn't mean that we're going to be putting you on the spot or calling on you, but we want to know that you're there and ready to participate. So that's the small group coaching session, Wednesday. No, I think it's a Wednesday. Don't hold me to that, but it's November 12th, whenever that is, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Just go to madow.com/group. I'll be there. Some members of our coaching team will be there. These are fantastic, intimate, personalized sessions, and they are fun too. We actually do a lot of laughing on them as well, because let's face it, if you can't have fun, what good is it? So I really hope to see you there. Okay, I kind of teased this a little bit. Let's talk about how to fill 90% of your cancellations instantly. Can you do it? Is it possible? 100%. You can do it. I'm going to show you how right now. Okay, first of all, we need to make 2 lists, and these were the lists I was talking about earlier. One is the PNP list. PNP stands for potential new patient. Now, sometimes you'll get a call from a potential new patient. They'll ask some questions. Are you seeing new patients? Do you do braces? Do you see children? Do you take my insurance? How much is the cleaning? Whatever the question is, they're not a patient yet in your practice. They're a potential new patient, and maybe you have a great conversation with them, but for some reason or another, on the phone that day, they are not ready yet to a point. They have to check their schedule. They need to check this or that or confirm, and whatever it is. They called, they showed good intent, but they're not ready to make an appointment quite yet. Well, whatever you do, don't miss the opportunity to get their name and their phone number and hopefully their email address. This person called, they're not just making phony phone calls. They're not just calling dental practices, seeing what it's like to be a new patient and then laughing and hanging up and then calling the podiatry office. No, they had some interest in coming to your office. There's a reason they called. So don't lose them. Try your hardest to make the appointment. Offer 2 good choices. But if you can't make the appointment, at least get their name and their contact information. They are PNPs, potential new patients. So put them on your PNP list. Now, your second list, the VIP list. What's the VIP list? Does VIP stand for very important patient? Well, sure, you can call it that if you want, but it's actually patients who are a little bit irresponsible. These are patients who have a history of no-showing or canceling. And this is one little tip right there to avoid no-shows and cancellations. Don't appoint patients who are abusing your schedule. If somebody is shown that they're irresponsible and they miss half their appointments or they cancel last minute half their appointments, don't give them the appointment. Sometimes you look at the schedule and you look at it and you see, Sarah Smith, she's going to no-show. Well, if you think that, what's she doing on your schedule to begin with? She should be on the VIP list. The VIP list, patients who you love. You don't want to kick them out of your practice. It should be very rare that you kick a patient out of your practice. When you have to, but it should be very rare. These are patients that you fully want in your practice, but they've proven that they're not responsible enough to be put on your schedule ahead of time as an actual appointment. So just, you're talking to them on the phone, or you're looking at them and say, give them a little compliment. You must have a really busy schedule. Everybody's got a busy schedule, so this part's a no-brainer. You must have a really busy schedule because it looks like it's tough for you to keep your appointments, and we really understand. We all have busy schedules too, so I totally understand. But I'll tell you what, since it's difficult for you to keep appointments, now they kind of know they're being reprimanded, but they're taking it in stride because they're guilty and they know it. Instead of giving you an actual appointment, since your schedule is pretty tough and it might be difficult for you to make the appointment, I'm going to put you on the VIP list. And the VIP list is our list of patients who we really want to have come in, but it's difficult for them to make appointments far ahead of time. So what we'll do is we're going to put you on the VIP list, and when we get in the morning, if we have an opening or a change in our schedule, don't say cancellation. Remember that from a previous time. If we have a change in our schedule or an opening, we'll call you that morning, and if you can make it, fantastic. And if you can't, no problem. We'll keep you on the VIP list, and we'll call you another time. So you've got your two lists, the potential new patient list and the VIP list. Keep that in the back of your mind right now, because we're going to switch it up just a little bit. Let's say that someone calls to cancel. What do you do? What's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is something that we never, ever, ever recommend that you do under any other circumstance, but you do it now. Anybody has a guess? It's 4 words. Put it in the chat box if you can guess what I'm going to say. When someone calls to cancel, the first thing you do is something that we never, ever do under any other circumstance, or we don't want to do, but it's 4 words. Nobody has any guesses. Okay. Now I'm having trouble moving my chat box. Jeez. I'm telling you, live entertainment. When someone calls to cancel, Betty Hayden got it. We put them on hold, and so did Adrian, so did Brian. Fantastic. Rick, you got it. Okay. We put them on hold. We never, ever want to. The worst thing you can do when someone calls to say, "Dental office, hold, please." Woo, that's the worst. But when someone calls to cancel, we put them on hold. But first we say, "May I please put you on a brief hold while I retrieve your patient record?" Woo, the ominousity of it all. May I please put you on a brief hold while I retrieve your patient record? And then they say, sure. You put them on hold, and then hopefully you've got some on-hold music, or even better yet, they're hearing a nice on-hold message about how great your practice is and some of the fantastic services you do. Silence is the worst. Silence is not golden in this case, so put them on a brief hold. Now, sometimes you can just look at the schedule and know what you're going to say when you come back. Other times you might actually want to go talk to the patient's hygienist or doctor to find out what's going on. And I'll tell you why, because you put them on a brief hold for a minute or two, and then you come back and say something like, "It looks like we have you scheduled for a 1-hour appointment. I just spoke with Becky, and she is very concerned." That's why that word is bolded and underlined. That's a strong word. She is very concerned about the area of infection in the upper right. Now, you don't need to say, technical terms. There's a 5-millimeter pocket there with a, the little mobility. They don't know what the heck you're talking about. Everybody knows what an infection is, right? So Becky is very concerned about the area of infection in the upper right. Is there any way that you can keep this appointment? Now, there's a hygiene example, a different example on the doctor's schedule. It looks like we have you scheduled for a 90-minute appointment to do decay removal and a crown preparation on the lower right molar. I just spoke with the doctor, and she is very concerned about that area getting worse and possibly even needing a root canal. Is there any way that you can keep this appointment? Well, you're not threatening them. You're telling them the truth. The doctor's concerned that that tooth is going to get worse if you cancel. Is there any way that you can keep this appointment? This is a great technique, and it's truthful. This is in the patient's best interest. So it's nothing that's off the wall here. This is really true to the patient's needs. So you're concerned about what can happen. Is there any way you can keep that appointment? Now, doing that fills about 50% of your cancellations instantly. It's unbelievable. You put them on hold, give them some time to think, oh boy, what's going on? You come back and tell them why it's essential that they keep this appointment. 50% of the time, they will magically say, you know what, I can keep that appointment. So that's 50% of the time. Then for the 50% of the time, they say, I wish I could, I'm so sorry, but I just can't, let's reschedule it. Then you hit up your PNP and your VIP list. You do a little phone squatting. You tell them you've had a change in your schedule if it's a VIP. If it's a PNP, it's a slightly different conversation. Hey, Joe, it was so great speaking with you a couple weeks ago. So are you enjoying your time in Baltimore? Welcome to town. How's the job at Under Armour going? We're so glad to have you here. When we spoke a couple weeks ago, you weren't able to make an appointment quite yet. Were you able to check your schedule? Because we have an opening today at 3 p.m. and I highly recommend that you take it. Again, all these little kind of verbal cues, I highly recommend that you take it. You're telling this patient that they should grab this appointment now, or it could be a while before the next one comes up. So you hit up your PNP and your VIP list. You now have about 90% of your cancellations filled. It absolutely works 90% of the time now. When a new patient calls, a cancellation happens in your practice, you're going to be able to fill it. Wow, isn't that cool? Okay, let's keep rocking. The COVID cancellation. This is a new one, right? Something we never had before the last few months. A patient calls and they say, they make the appointment in good faith and they think they're going to be ready to come in, and then they turn on the news and see something bad, which we certainly do about every minute in our lives these days, and they get a little nervous and they call and do the COVID cancellation. You know what? I'd love to come in, but I'm just not ready because of COVID. I'm just afraid to come in. I just can't do it. So how do we handle the COVID cancellation? Well, the number one rule is never get into a fight with your patient, even the smallest fight. That's why I put the boxing gloves there. So many times I've seen doctors and team members get into fights with their patients. It can be something goofy, like a patient come in and say, oh yeah, my grandpappy had 3 sets of teeth. He had his baby teeth, then his regular teeth, then he lost all them, then the 3rd set grew in. I think you got to do that one in a Southern accent. My apologies to all you fine people in the South, but you got to tell that story in a Southern accent. What's the typical dentist say? I'm sorry, sir, that is biologically and physiologically impossible. That didn't happen. Well, why are you fighting with your patient? Don't do it. Just, hey, that's one for the books. Oh, that's a great story, whatever it is. There's never, even if there's a disagreement about anything, about insurance, about payments, about treatment, never get into a fight with your patients. Just listen to them, really listen to what they're saying, think about what they're saying, tell them that other people have felt the same way, but whatever it is, just don't get into a fight with your patient. And that applies to the COVID cancellation. Our tendency is to say, you may think that, you may have heard that on the news, your friends may be talking, you may have seen that on Facebook, but it's totally safe here because of this, that. Don't get into a fight with your patient. The first thing to do is agree with them and acknowledge what they're saying. I'm calling to cancel because I'm just afraid to come in because of COVID. Give them a compliment. I totally understand it. I'm so glad that you feel that way. As a matter of fact, it sounds like you're taking this pandemic very seriously, and I don't blame you. If more people would take it as seriously as you, maybe we'd be through this thing more quickly and we'd be able to get back to normal, whatever it is. Give them a great compliment because they have every right to be nervous. Nobody really knows the full ramifications of everything, and we might not for years. So you certainly can't blame somebody for being nervous. So start by agreeing with them. I totally understand, and I really see where you're coming from here. It's a crazy pandemic, and I totally get it, and I wish more people would be as cautious as you. Boom, you're not fighting, you're giving them a compliment. Then you can kind of switch into your dentist and dental team member mode. Let me tell you what we're doing here. We're doing this, we're doing that. We've always taken, gone beyond CDC recommendations, and we're taking it even further now in the COVID era. A study just came out that said dentists and dental team members have an incredibly low infection rate, lower than the general population, and we feel you're very safe here. We all come here, our family members are coming, and we haven't had any instances. So if you'd like to keep the appointment, I feel pretty good about you being safe. How do you feel about that? And you're giving them the option. And if they still say, no, I'm just not ready, don't argue with them. Say, okay, I'll tell you what. When do you think you'd feel safe coming in? Do you want to make an appointment for 3 months from now? A certain percentage of people are just not ready to come in. They're not going to be ready to come in for a while. They might not be ready to come in until there's a vaccine and we're relatively back to normal. And you don't want to twist their arm on this one. This is a pretty serious issue. You don't want to twist their arm. You want to agree with them. And you do want to try to convince them to come in, but do it by being on their side, not by getting into a fight with them. You see the difference? It's such a big difference, and it's just in the way that you word things. And you will get patients that say, well, you know what, okay, I'll come in. And you'll get other patients that say, I really appreciate what you're telling me. I'm just not ready yet. So this is not a time when you should reprimand them or try to play like you're more knowledgeable than they are. Okay, that's the COVID cancellation. Question that we get all the time: should you charge a cancellation fee? Well, I've heard so many different things about this. I'll tell you, you should charge a cancellation fee only in one circumstance. And that circumstance is if you never want to see the patient again in your entire life, charge a cancellation fee. But it's even worse because they might, it doesn't matter what your side of the story is. The only thing they know is their side of the story. It doesn't matter if they canceled at the last minute or no-showed. You're the rich, greedy dentist if you charge them a cancellation fee. So I'm going to say I would never charge someone a cancellation or a no-show fee. I would just put them on the VIP list. That's one thing you can do to make sure they never do this again. Charging a cancellation fee, it just looks really cheap and nitpicky and vindictive, and they're going to be pissed off, and they're never going to come in again. And that's not so bad. But what's worse is their side of the story will never be the same as your side of the story. And when they go and Google reviews and Yelp and all these review sites and really try to make your office sound bad, there's not going to be a whole lot you can do about it. So I don't recommend charging a cancellation fee unless you never, ever want to hear from that patient again. If for some reason they've just gotten under your skin so badly and you have to charge them a cancellation fee, tell them that you're donating the money to the local food bank or some great cause. At least that way they can feel a little bit better about it. I don't know. I just don't think you should mess with cancellation fees. Okay. Here's another thing. Respect your patient's time. I mean, never run late. I know it's easy for me to say, but if you run late, it tells them that you don't respect their time and that you don't really know how to control your schedule. So they don't feel as bad about being late or canceling or no-showing. This office doesn't respect my time. I don't feel bad about not respecting their time. So it's really essential to never run late. Now, when I was first planning this webinar, I was going to do a little segment here on never running late. But as I was putting the slides together and the program together, I realized that by never running late, I don't want to run late either. And we like to keep these to about an hour. And I've got about 10 or 15 minutes to say on this topic of never running late. And I really want you to have this material because it's great to get you to never run late. And it's a really fantastic thing for your patient. Patients will leave your practice if you run late. They won't tell you that's why they're leaving. Or, what else? They might not refer their friends and family if you're running late all the time. Just don't do it. So since we don't have time to do it on this webinar, I did a podcast on it, and it's part of our Dental Practice Fixers podcast. There's our Dental Practice Fixers. This is a podcast that we do just about every week. So this week's podcast that's coming out this Friday is going to be all about how to never run late in your practice. So if you're a regular listener to the Dental Practice Fixers, fantastic. I'll see you Friday, or sometimes it comes out on Saturday morning or even Sunday, just depending on some logistical things. But it's the next podcast that comes out. It'll be out sometime this weekend. So if you're a regular listener, good news for you. The next one will be on how to never run late. If you're not a regular listener, if you don't know anything about our podcast, just go to madow.com/dentalpodcasts. All the info will be right there. Or you can go to your podcast app, your Spotify, Stitcher, whatever it is, and look for the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. So there you go. The very next podcast will be pure information on how to never run late in your dental practice. Okay, next, we're coming up towards the end, but I didn't want to end this without telling you the two most important rules in banishing no-shows and cancellations. But before that, I just want to remind you, of course, our small group coaching session is November 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be an intimate group of doctors who are practice owners. I'll be there. 2 members of our coaching team will be there. Some Madow team members will be there. It's a great time. It's just an unbelievable learning experience. It's all confidential. We talk, we brainstorm, we BS, we have fun, but more importantly, we'll talk about specific issues in your practice. You'll get the floor. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll be able to tell us about some things you want to improve in your practice. You'll hear from a small group of doctors and learn some things about their practices as well. There's nothing like the small group coaching sessions. So as they say, be there or be square. It's November 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Just go to madow.com/group. We'll even tell you what it's like to work with us as your personal practice coach. So you'll get to hear all about that. These are just great sessions, and I'd love for you to be there. Madow.com/group. Also, I talked about this in the beginning, but just a reminder, if you want to get the absolute best prices for your dental scrap, I showed a check that somebody just recently got. It was like $6,500. Southern Dental Refining just simply pays the most. Nobody else pays more than them, and they're easy to work with. So go to madow.com/gold and finally get what you deserve for your dental scrap. Okay, let's talk about two really important rules in banishing no-shows and cancellations. First, you need to provide an incredibly great patient experience every single time. If you're and this is no BS, if your patients think that your office treats them like they're the most important person in the world, they are much more likely to return the favor. And you don't no-show or last-minute cancel on the most important person in the world. So it starts with us. We've got to provide an incredibly great patient experience every single time. If your patients think you don't know who they are, you treat them like a number, you treat them like the crown prep in room 2 instead of by their name, you don't know anything about them, they are much more likely to no-show or cancel. So it starts with us providing a great experience. We did an entire webinar on there. I think it was a couple months ago. You can rewatch it or watch it for the first time. Just go to madow.com/webinars. We have a lot of our prior webinars on that site. So there's one that gives a tremendous amount of tips, an hour's worth of tips in providing an incredibly great patient experience. Check it out at madow.com/webinars. Here's another important rule. You are not obligated to treat every patient that walks in your door. If a patient is abusive of your time, of your skill, of your team, of you, whatever the case, yes, we took an oath to do our best for our patients, but that doesn't mean that you are the right practice for every patient, and you are not obligated to treat every single patient that walks through your door. Sure, there are some ethical concerns if somebody comes in and they're bleeding or swollen, in horrible pain, they have like a ridiculous cosmetic embarrassment, and they can't afford treatment. Well, I always find time in my heart and in my schedule to help someone like that. It's a great thing to do for people that are not as fortunate as we are. But that doesn't mean that you're obligated to treat people who are not in that situation, who aren't in horrible pain, bleeding, swelling, whatever. And it doesn't mean that you're obligated to treat people who are not kind to you. So if somebody's really bad in your practice, they're just a total jerk, they're nasty to you and your team, they're abusive of you, and they're abusive of your schedule, and you don't even want to put them on your VIP list, and it's just not going to work out. As Cousin Joseph once said, ask them to, tell them that you would like them to seek treatment elsewhere. I think we've got some dismissal letters on our website at madow.com if you have to do that and you're worried about ethical or legal issues. Again, we're not lawyers, but, so you can't interpret anything we do as legal advice, but we have recommended things for decades that have been successful in dental practices all across North America. So we've got a great dismissal letter on our madow.com website. I'm not saying you should use it a lot. You don't want to use it a lot. If you find you're dismissing a patient a week, well, that's a big problem. Probably the problem's with you. You only want to do this a few times a year, but should the need arise, go to madow.com, check out our patient dismissal letter. So I think that is gonna be it for tonight. It was fantastic spending an hour with you. I know we have people from every time zone here, from the US and from Canada and from other countries as well. I'm Dr. Richard Madow, co-founder of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I know that you could have been doing a million things on your Wednesday evening, and you chose it. You chose to spend the time with me and with the folks at the Madow Center, and I cannot tell you how much that means to me. So thanks so much. Love to see you at the group session, madow.com/group for the small group coaching session. If you want any more info, get it at madow.com. You see at the bottom of the screen, our general email box is info@madow.com. If you want to email me personally, I would love to hear from you. My email address is simple. It's just rich@madow.com, RICH@madow.com. Everybody's going to be getting an email with the CE code. So if you want to turn this in for continuing education, you can do it. That'll be arriving in your inbox very shortly. If you don't get it for some reason, just come to us at info@madow.com and we will make sure that you get it. Again, I love you all and appreciate you all. And I say that with the most sincerity. It's just so much fun to do these. And I hope that you had fun as well. So get rid of those no-shows. Get rid of those cancellations. And hopefully I'll see you on the group session, madow.com/group. Thanks so much, everybody. You've got my appreciation. Good night to all.